has been started at this point. All right, so I'll just do a really quick run through here. We do have some slides ready to go. And Justin's covered a lot of this material already. We are here today to engage with you, our industry partners, and other interested parties to explore themes related to plant cannabis, Canopy. And this is a different process for us. So we're just really hoping that everyone kind of works with us on some technical glitches that might happen along the way. So looking for everyone's grace and cooperation today. So why are we here again? You know, Justin already spoke to this. There are rules that outline privileges, requirement fees, and fees for cannabis producer and processor licenses. Mostly producer here, but that's the, you know, the focus of the conversation today. We do have a definition of plant canopy in rule already, but we know that our producers use a lot of different methods for that. So we want to talk about that today in greater detail with you. So briefly talking about World Café, it is a participatory workshop method that differs from what we've done with Listen and Learn and deliberative dialogue, in that we're engaging with all of you in a much more deliberate way. So we're not focusing on a panel, we're listening to what you have to say about a particular topic. So we're not looking at the rules themselves, we're talking about concepts, and those were represented in the questions that Justin talked about a little bit earlier, and that we'll be putting up on the screen here in just a couple minutes. But during this event, we really want you to focus again on the things that are important for World Café, and that's on what matters, contribute to your thinking on the topic, speak from your mind and your heart. That's what we're really wanting to hear about and from you today. Listen to understand, link and connect ideas, and then listen together for insights and deeper questions that you can ask each other during the course of your conversations, even though they're going to be short. We recognize that, but I think in the virtual environment, I think if we hang on too long, then we lose people, and we don't want to do that today. All right, so really quickly, this is just a visualization of what World Café looks like from the folks who put together the model. And again, those are the elements that I just spoke to there. All right, so Justin's already spoken to participant expectations. Same thing, you know, are listed here. Just want to reiterate: maintain a respectful space. Please stay on topic and appreciate the diversity of perspectives you're going to hear today. And again, everybody's going to have an opportunity to speak, and our room facilitators are going to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak within the very short time allotted to us here. And again, just a final reminder, we are recording the session. This is a public forum, and we'll have a YouTube video available once the session is completed. All right, so with that, how are we going to do this? Go ahead, Justin. Okay, we'll introduce the topic, so I'll bring the topic up on the screen. You've all been assigned to rooms, and those are hosted by your LCB facilitators. That's Justin Nordhorn, Robert Spain, Jeff Kildall, Nick Pullman, and Jessica Dang, who is not on camera right now. There's Jessica. Hi, Jessica. You'll discuss the topic in your breakout rooms, and then I'll bring everybody back in to this main session room, and we will harvest your ideas for about 5 minutes, and then we'll repeat that 2 times for the different questions. All right. I think we're ready to get going really quickly. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
So a couple other little fine details that we were trying to work out in our practice run. So with this many people, it's going to take a little bit of time to get folks into the breakout rooms. And so the 15 minutes will actually start once we get the last group into the breakout room. So every group will have at least 15 minutes. Now, not everybody may have a full 15, or we'll have more than 15 minutes, but everybody will have at least 15 minutes. And so a couple things you'll see on the screen. You'll see that you are going to be moved into a room in like 10 seconds. It'll say that, so there'll be a little bit of a lag time and delay. And then it will also present a message saying you will be taken out of that room and be brought back into the main room automatically with a given time. So if you're in the middle of speaking and we get pulled out of that room, just please know this is just part of the timing issue. It's nothing that anybody's trying to cut you off, but you should see a warning on how many seconds are left before people transition in there. And as far as those of us who are facilitating, if we're not looking directly into the camera, it's probably because we're taking notes, whether it's on paper or on the computer. So we're trying to capture all of the thoughts that are coming in, and we'll likely ask some clarifying questions. But really, this is your opportunity for that input. So I just wanted to put people, at ease that with some of the delays that you'll see. So not everything is instantaneous in this particular process.
Great, thanks very much for that, Justin. That's really helpful. One other thing I wanted to say, if there are other people who have joined since we started, I'll see who goes into the rooms as soon as I open the rooms up for discussion, and then I'll assign you to one of the 5 rooms. So if I miss someone, it isn't because we're not noticing you. It's that you might have come in a little after I started that room assignment process, and I'll get you into a room as soon as possible. So just wanted to let you know on that as well. And then finally, I think, again, Justin's already spoken to this, but we did file a CR 101. So that's the statement of inquiry to look into rules around cannabis plant canopy on August 31st of this year. And thank you, Jeff Kildall, for your great work on that. All right, so I think we're ready to go. And we are running just slightly behind, darn it, but that's okay. I think given our first go around at this, I'm okay with us being 4 minutes behind. I don't know about all of you. Well, actually, we're 1 minute ahead. I read the agenda wrong. Yay. All right. So I'm going to open up the discussion rooms for discussion on our first question, and that is, how should we treat floor space that is not in production? And if everybody's ready, I will open the rooms now, and I will see you back here at 2:35-ish. All right, here we go. I've got the spinning wheel over here. Did you need a room? Hi, Luke. So we've got a few people who don't have rooms, it looks like, yeah. Okay, let me find rooms for you guys. Vicki, do you have a room? No, okay. Hang on a sec. Let me get some
I didn't
rooms.
go anywhere when you said go, so I'm guessing I don't have a room.
Well, it looks
I'm
like
still
the
here.
rooms are opening. I think we've got a lot of people, so
So it might take a minute. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it might take a few minutes to get people into rooms. Okay, those rooms are open. So let me assign you guys to some rooms, okay?
Great.
Okay, let me take a picture of you to make sure I don't. I'll tell you, could this be any more nerve-wracking right now?
I know.
So, you know what? It's so much easier to do this live, but I'm so glad that we can do it this way. All right, so let's see here. Give me a minute. Okay, so Vicki, I'm going to put you in room 3.
Okay.
All right, here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Henderson, let's find a room for you. Give me a minute. Vicki needs to go into her room and then I can assign you.
It says I'm going to be moved in 10 seconds.
Okay, hold
There
on.
I go. It's like a wormhole.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm quite patient.
Bye, Vicki. Okay. Okay, so Mr. Henderson, let's find you a room. How about room 4 for you? Let me find you here. There you are. Let's put you in room I said 4, right? Okay. Here we go. Get ready. Okay, you should get your little warning light in a few minutes that says, off you go. Good.
It's going to work. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for your patience. Appreciate it. All right, Luke, how are you?
I'm doing good. So I have an option to join room. I also have a hold. Should I try clicking on either of those?
Let me see where you're at here. Where I've got you. Oh, you're in room 4.
Perfect.
Yeah, so go ahead and go on in there. You're good to go.
All right.
So it looks like everybody's in a room. Yep.
Kathy, it's Rick. I don't see that I'm in
Yeah.
one.
This is
Do you
Rob.
want
I'm
to
not
be
either.
you want to be in a room, Rick? I will add you to a room.
Do you have that many 25 people I see on the screen that are trying to get in a room, Kathy?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what,
there's
Kathy? Do them first. Don't do me now,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Thanks,
Yeah, my
Kathy.
pleasure. Yep. And I think there's okay, Leo, let's see. Leslie. Hi, Tim. Do you need a room? I see you've got your hand raised.
Yes, I need a room. Thank you.
Okay. It's taking me a while to get folks in just because we did the assignments as soon as we started. And so folks coming in a little later, I think it's, let me see what I can do here. So just be patient with us, folks. So Tim, let me find you here. I will put you in room 2. There you go, Tim. You should be good.
Thank you.
And it should give you a prompt to go in a room in just a minute. Hi,
Okay.
Greg. Do you need a room as well?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Bear with me here. Technology takes a little bit to transfer people from one room to another. So appreciate your patience very much.
All right.
All right. So you're up next, and I will put you in room 3.
Thank you.
All right. So hold on here. Let me find you. There you are. All right. And here you go into room 3. You'll get a prompt in about 10 seconds that says it's switching you. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. All right. Who else? Carolyn, do you need a room? And it looks like Yen needs a room.
Hey. What up, there?
Okay.
How's
So
your tummy?
Carolyn,
How's your tummy? Is there any way to select multiple people at once into a room?
I'm trying to do that right now. And I think one of the challenges we're having is people are joining the session late. So we're having to continuously include people in, or, assign people to rooms. So it's going to take a little longer. So just bear with us here as we assign people to rooms. And Teams is still working on putting people into rooms right now. So give me a few more minutes here. All right. So Rick, I'm going to go ahead and put you in a room, okay?
I'm not worried about me, Kathy. You let those other people in because I can catch up
Okay.
or come back after the question. Thank you, though.
Okay, sounds
Appreciate it.
good. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Let's see. Put this in room 2. And I'm just looking for everybody who's unassigned at this point and trying to find a room for you. So bear with me here as we do that, as I do that. Thank you. All right. I think I got everybody covered. All right, and Kelsey, it looks like, let me see here, I'll find a room for you. Junie and Rick, did either of you want to be in a room at all?
I'm okay without it, Kathy. I've been monitoring people to keep their microphones off, and so when they can come back to
Okay.
this main landing page, I'll be trying to help keep that going.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And
You can send me in, Kathy, as long as everybody else is in.
yep, everybody's in. And nobody on the phone can be in a room. Not sure why that is. That's just a weird feature of Teams. So I'll go ahead and throw you in a room, okay? Or put you in a room.
Thank you.
Not throw you.
Good old CenturyLink.
You should get a prompt in a couple minutes, or I'm sorry, a few seconds, Rick, that moves you in there. I know you've done this before.
It's here, Kathy. It's all good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great to hear. Thank you. And Tierney, thanks again for being here.
No problem. You're doing a great job, and just want to be sure. So, this part of the team's call is still recording. Is that correct? Okay.
It is. And then
and I'm seeing some people are on hold, and I'm not sure if they are stuck in the cyber wormhole that is between two meetings or a different room.
yeah, I'm not sure either.
Okay.
And I know folks that are on the phone, our apologies. we can't, for whatever the reason, Teams will not let us move folks who have phoned in into the individual rooms. So glad you're here. And of course you can absolutely, participate in the harvest session that will follow. But just wanted to let you know, it's not because we're not recognizing you. It's just that Teams doesn't give us a way to move callers into these rooms.
Thanks for that, Kathy. Also, if there's anyone who is on Teams and not on the phone that hasn't been moved into a room, are you able to raise your hand so we can note that you need to be moved into a room? If you can show us that you need to be moved, we can try to get you moved into a room.
Thanks so much, Tierney. There's a hand. All right, we have someone with the initials of MT, and we have Carolyn. So MT and Carolyn, give me one moment here. All right, Carolyn, we have you in room 1. And then we have MT, excuse me, let me find you. Jeremy, can we help you with anything? I'm sorry, you're muted and we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I tried to call in, and when you kicked me to the room, the audio didn't go with it. It stayed in your room.
Yeah.
Because my speakers aren't so great and I have hearing aids, so I tried to
the,
call in. So just so you guys know.
Yeah, if you call in, we can't assign you to a room, which is why that's happening. Okay, so thanks for that. So yeah, hopefully you can be able to participate in the harvest part. At least that will be helpful. So let me see, there was one other person with a hand raised here, a couple other people, I thought. So Brandon and Carolyn, give me 1 minute here. So Brandon, I'm going to put you in room 5, but we need to start bringing folks back into the meeting now. So you probably won't be able to participate in the first part of the discussion, but for the second question, you'll be able to participate. So give Teams just a minute and it will move you into room 5. All right, I am going to close the meeting rooms. It's 2:36. So get ready, I guess. Ready, Tierney? Everybody else? All right, here we go.
There. Hello.
Hello?
Hello, everybody. If you want to go ahead and turn off your cameras now that you're back in the room, that would be great.
Catherine, I just jumped out of the room I was in earlier.
Okay.
And I was there for like 2 minutes, not 15, even close.
All right, so everybody's coming back into the space. All right, and it looks like there's some more people joining, so we'll give it just a couple minutes for everybody to come back in. All right, those rooms are now closed. So again, asking folks to turn off cameras at this point and mute. And we'll start doing our first round of harvest here. And let's go ahead and start with room 1. And Jeff, could you share some of the things that you heard with respect to this question 1? How should we treat floor space that is not in production?
Sure, thanks, Kathy. The first idea that was shared was that based on a producer's growing cycle, some grows have nursery space which is used constantly when plants are raised in the nursery, then moved out into outdoor areas or to a grow room. And so some producers keep this nursery space in constant production, but some producers have nursery space for small plants that is only used intermittently. And the first idea is that this nursery space should not count towards canopy when it's not in use, if that's the grower's cycle for how they produce plants. The second one was that floor space that is used for pathways or roadways should not count, because it's actual physical space that's not ever used in production, because it's used as a roadway or path. And the third general idea was that if there's no plants being produced in any spot, then it shouldn't count as canopy. So those are the 3 themes.
All right. Thanks for that, Jeff. Justin.
Yeah, our group had some similar comments, especially around excluding the floor space that's not part of any growing. So there was no dissent on that particular part of the topic. We had some perspectives on kind of how some of the facilities are set up. You've got some facilities that rent out their buildings, or they are renting a building or a warehouse where there may be extra space, and then they'll do some modifications to adjust where things are being grown for a variety of reasons. So that builds in flexibility if you're only counting those spaces that have the growing occurring. And then there's also, from an outdoor grow perspective, there was comments about the need for crop rotation. And so when you have a large space, if we can get people to mute their side.
Thank you.
So if we end up having outdoor space where they need some crop rotation, and it's being earmarked as something that's not, they're earmarked on a floor plan that this is your production space, but then you're not using that, then you're going to be actually limiting some of your other opportunities. So some folks would like to have that greater amount of overall space, not necessarily the production space, so that they can manage some of that rotation. And especially if you end up getting, a batch of soil or some part of that outdoor grow that gets contaminated in some way or another, that you can let that soil rest even for a few years before you replant in that particular area, or if you have to do something with that. So the overall interest really was around having as much flexibility as you can. And there seemed to be, there were some comments about, the way that the current rules have been drafted seemed to make sense as far as the flexibility. They felt like there was flexibility already there, although we have heard differing accounts. So I'll put that out there as well. But nonetheless, the group that I had was definitely talking about that particular aspect. And then there were some other comments in which may be earmarked for a later discussion, but just commenting that maybe the measuring of a canopy, because it becomes a rigid type of an approach, may not be the best way to assess the volume. The other thing from an indoor perspective that was shared is, if we are, as the state, if we're coming out and saying this is exactly how you do this, you end up dictating business operations. And there was definitely an interest of not having that happen. And then you may end up having people trying to pack too many plants into a particular area, which could increase negative impacts to those plants, requiring you to use additional pesticides or something else. And so there's a number of other factors that would come into play by overpopulating a particular area if you feel like your space is incredibly limited on that front. So those were the primary comments that we discussed.
All right, thanks very much, Justin. Room 3, Robert.
Thanks, Kathy. I'll echo what Jeff and Justin have already said and try and add some additional. So again, any floor space not in production should not be, it's a general consensus, shouldn't be included as canopy. But they also included, they said veg space, also basically anything for crop rotation, again, just as Justin mentioned, anything that encourages sustainable ecological growth, including basically anything not currently in production, should be left out of what counts as production. There's also, maybe this is for later as well, but maybe defining in production more fully, and also, if needed, having definitions for outdoor versus indoor growth, how you would look at floor space in this, or how you would look at production space. Another thought posited was, once you're looking at the rules, it's only as good as the enforcement. So you need to make sure that whatever goes in there is enforceable and also equitable to all licensees. So that was a comment that someone made. Just wanted to make sure that whatever it's written is equitable to all licensees. And then we also want to look at some of the requirements by labor and industry, some of the necessary walkways, the required paths and lanes and sizes that are in there, and how those might also factor into floor space versus canopy space.
Great, thanks very much, Robert. Moving on to Nick.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of similar comments. I think a big part of it was flexibility to be able to grow how you'd like to grow, to not be punished if you have more space for aisleways versus less, that you should be able to make those decisions as a business. Also, that all of these floor plans were sent to licensing and approved in most cases, for what the individual licensee described as their canopy, and would like a little bit more recognition that these measurements were done by the licensee, at least in theory. A good point was brought up that if in Oregon, that for more specific circumstances other than just growing or just measuring an entire area like fence to fence or an entire room, if you want to measure down to the aisleway, they require an actual surveyor to do those measurements and submit it. So I thought that was also interesting.
All right, thanks, Nick. And then finally, last but not least, Jessica.
Thank you. Our group got a little hung up on the definitions and the questions, so thanks, group, for sticking with it. So just to echo a few things that were already mentioned, perhaps having two different definitions or approach for canopy, one for indoor, one for outdoor. Again, aisleways not being counted as production space was brought up. And then also the areas not in production should be under surveillance, but not considered canopy. Those were some of our key discussion points.
Fantastic. And we'll be able to compile all of these notes as well and then share them out after this meeting today. So a couple things before we go on to the next question. First of all, I think we had many people that came a little later to the meeting, so not everybody got their full 15 minutes in the last discussion, and part of that was assigning rooms to people and having to do that kind of as quickly as we could, and then teams taking a little while to do that. So hopefully this next round will be able to take the full 15 minutes once you have landed in your room. And I see some other people have joined us, so I'll try to get you assigned as soon as the breakout session starts, okay? So just bear with us, but we're hoping that the next session, everybody who's going to be here is here, and you can take advantage of the full 15 minutes. So moving on to, our next question before we go into the next breakout session, and we are running just slightly behind. I think what we'll do is I won't spend a lot of time closing the meeting out. We'll use as much of the time as we have today together to have these important conversations. But the next question is, how could we update the tier system? So it's 2:49 now. Let's see. Let's go until 3:05. So 5 minutes after 3, I will bring everybody back into the main room. All right. And for those of you who it looks like we have 6, maybe fewer than that to assign. So hosts, you might see some new people popping into your room. Okay. All right, here we go, everyone. Hi, Josh.
Hi there.
Hi, Teams is still moving people into their rooms. So give me probably about a minute, and then I can assign you to a room.
Okay, no worries.
I have to say we did not expect the turnout that we. I'm thrilled, but also like, wow.
Right.
We are testing Teams limits right now for sure.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I had a meeting with the WSDA lab, so
Oh, well, that sounds interesting. We'll need to talk later.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I will put you into room 3. Here, give me a moment.
Okay.
And there you go. It'll give you a little sign that says you're moving in so many seconds or minutes.
Okay.
Moving to the alternative universe momentarily. So folks that didn't look assigned, I tried to assign you. Hi there, I see a hand raised. How can we help?
I got disconnected from my meeting. I'm wondering if you could send me back in.
Oh,
Goes
of
with-
course. Absolutely. Do you remember what room you were in?
Shoot. Can't remember if it was 2 or 5. I think it was Tim.
I'm sorry, say that again? Yes.
I can't remember if it was 2 or 5. I feel like his name
Okay.
was Tim.
Tim, maybe Justin? Let me
Yeah,
see
maybe
here.
Justin.
Okay. Well, we'll just find out. Oh, you are in room 2. Okay.
Yeah, 2. There we go. Thanks.
So let me reassign you to room 2 and see if it'll take you back there. One sec. Oh my gosh, that won't let me add you to where I want to add you. Well, I'm trying to troubleshoot here. It won't let me assign you to a new room, which is very weird.
Yeah, that's too bad. It did the same thing last time, and we ended
Did
up having
it?
to- yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
That's all right.
Let's see here. Let me see. It says it's assigning you to something. So we'll see what happens. It didn't do it. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let me try it again.
Okay.
There we go. All right. Here you go
Great,
back to
thank you.
room 2. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
Thank you.
You bet. So Tierney, I'm going to bring everybody back at 3:06 so they get that full minute, extra minute.
Sounds good, Kathy.
Okay.
You're doing great. This is a fun new world we're in.
I just didn't want anybody to think I'm sleeping on the job over here.
Definitely not. I bet you have like 5 screens going and you're clicking like a mad woman.
Not that I would show that to anyone, right? All right, I'm going to bring everybody back. Here we go.
Oh, God, this is so frustrating.
2s and 3s. It's just fair.
All right, so if you're not reporting out, if you could help us out by closing off your camera and muting, that would be super helpful. Thank you. All right, and it looks like we're waiting for a couple more people to rejoin. And in the interest of time, why don't we go ahead and start with the harvest for this round on question 2, how could we update the tier system? And we'll start with Jeff and our room 1 participants.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Room 1 had 3 kind of general ideas about how we could update the tier system. One idea was to allow for different tier sizes between indoor and outdoor growing techniques to compensate for the difference in the number of harvests per year and the spacing, because indoor cultivation has can grow, sometimes grow in closer proximity to each other. The second idea was to allow the outdoor tier sizes to go larger than the indoor tiers, because the indoor tiers can easily have 5 or maybe 6 harvests per year, while the outdoor growers generally are limited to 1 major harvest per year. And then the third concept was that all outdoor grows should be allowed to be just 1 uniform tier size, because they're outdoors and they have the limited harvest. But the idea was that the outdoor grows should all be the same, limited to the same size. And those were our points.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Room 2, Justin.
So just in the interest of time, I'll keep it at a very high level. So similar to Jeff, the interest was growing larger scale. So allowing the tier systems to ramp up, if you will. Some of that had to do with, some economies of scale. Some of it has to do with biomass production. Some of it has to do with potential federal legalization and being behind the curve if the state is limited to a smaller production when national interstate commerce can occur. So the general consensus was to open up production at higher levels. There could be, you could look at some variabilities between indoor and outdoor, but there should be some consideration around the output of production. So looking at it potentially in a volume type of a state, and how much is actually being manufactured there. So that's those are the general comments, and we'll capture more later.
Yep, Sounds good. Thanks, Justin. Robert, room 3.
Thanks, Kathy. There were some divergent opinions. One was to, if you've shown as a tier 1 or tier 2 that you keep hitting max canopy, you should be able to apply to a tier 3, and it should be a permanent move up. Conversely, if you're not showing your capacity to have that max, you can also be reviewed and possibly move down to a lower tier. There's also to take that everyone should have the same max canopy, no tier system whatsoever. So that would be one approach, just remove the tier system. Another was if interstate is legal, create some sort of trigger, similar to what Justin just said, that would then take into account increasing production, but until then, keeping production as is to avoid market saturation in the state. Everyone to another one was every single license should be able to apply to a tier 3. And then once you have that, if you've saturated the market if you haven't saturated the market at that point, you could look to adding an additional tier that's higher than tier 3 right now. So not changing the canopy capacities for each tier, but allowing tier 1 and tier 2 to also apply to a tier 3, and that's for every single license. There's one that's a little more technical. I think if we have time, we'll get into, but it was about multiple licenses under a single UBI and trying to, how to work to expand that so that they could all be considered one tier. But that's a little nuanced, but again, I've captured it and we'll get into that, I think, at a later date.
Great. Thanks, Robert. Nick.
Yep. A lot of similar topics. Did talk about the discrepancy between indoor and outdoor farms, about the same amount of square footage if you only grow once versus if you grow multiple times throughout the year. Our group was a little less concerned with the total cap versus the cap on the number of licenses that someone could hold, that you can increase your canopy if you could hold more licenses, regardless of what that cap is. There was also a thought that canopy should be aligned with market needs, market desires, as increases or decreases on the retail side could better inform how much canopy should be in total production. And then as well as a relegation versus promotion system, where if you're growing, let's say 80% of canopy and showed that you were able to sell that, you should be able to move up, and vice versa. If you're growing under a certain limit, that you may be moved down if you're not maximizing your canopy.
Thanks, Nick. And then Jessica.
Thank you. For the sake of time, I'll just echo a couple of comments that were made again about LCB managing the total canopy to keep businesses viable. So similar to what was just said. Also, there was some conversation around having a dormant tier or license for areas that are not in production, have never been in production, or non-producing canopy. We ended our conversation. There was some conversation around consistent enforcement in the field. So wanted to bring that forward as well, because that impacts individuals.
All right, so we are running out of time, and I want to make sure that I think we might go 5 minutes over. If anyone has to leave at 3:30, by all means, and this recording will be up on our website, like we shared at the beginning of the session, but want to give everybody the full 15 minutes to discuss our final question here today, and that is, how should we measure canopy? So put everybody in their room, I guess, at this point. And then we'll meet back here at 3:30 and then do a very quick report out, a harvest of the final high points from your discussions, and then we'll close out for today. So I'll move everyone into their rooms now to discuss this final question: how should we measure canopy? Thanks. So Rob or Chandra, did you want to go in rooms briefly to see what's going on?
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. If that's appropriate, absolutely.
Sure. I'm waiting for all the rooms to open up and all the people to populate it. So give me a minute and I'll put you in a room. It just opened up. So
Yeah,
I'll put you in. What's that?
No worries at all.
Okay. Rob, did you want to go in a room too?
Sure, beam me up.
Okay. All right, I am putting both of you into room 1, and here you go. Here, yeah, I'm gonna bring him back at 3:31. Okay.
Thanks, Kathy.
Just making sure we're still communicating here.
Instead of 5.
No, too late.
Right, so bringing people back in. So welcome back, everybody. I'm gonna try to keep this last report out on Harvest 3. On this third question, how should we measure canopy? If you can give us the just 3 bullet points so that we can let folks go to the rest of their afternoon and do a little bit of closure. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and start with you, Jeff, on the third question.
Okay, well, basically really 3 points. Canopy should be measured just by measuring the plants tip to tip. And there could be some questions about measuring canopy depending on the growth stage of the plant in question, and we can talk more about that later. And there was the topic of having consistent enforcement or consistent review of grow would be helpful in determining canopy. And one other point is what one person mentioned, setting out canopy just in uniform blocks, in rows, so like 5 by 100, 5 by 100, 5 by 6 by 100, whatever, and that those can be measured and used to quickly determine canopy. So those are our points.
Okay, thanks very much. Justin.
Yeah, so it seemed like the general consensus was, given the current definitions, it's workable. However, the enforcement methodology and consistency is what's really an important factor. There would be an interest in, when we're starting with the definition, making sure that everybody's on the same page of branches, leaves, edges, those types of things. The general consensus, well, I don't know if it was general consensus. We had a lot of comments around trying to shift into plant count, but there's a recognition plants are different sizes, so that's going to create different things around the yield. There was also that similar comment to Jeff's around doing kind of a plotting type of approach. So if you did a 5 by 5 foot square per plant, and then you could calculate that up to your 30,000 square feet. So they wouldn't have to be in a particular area. You would have X number of 5 by 5 square foot plots for each plant, and then you could calculate it that way. So those were some of the suggestions. We certainly had some other comments that we'll have to cover in a later debrief.
Great, thanks very much, Justin. Robert.
So there was like a grow box, or if indoor trays, outdoor bed space. They said if we can fence in cows, we can fence in cannabis. And also, don't reinvent the wheel. Look to what the agency currently has and just try to fix it. And that includes enforcement, how you would enforce it. Another was drip edge of plant, which is apparently how other plants are measured. And then finally is what's the purpose of even measuring canopy? Why are we doing it? So the idea is just to remove measuring canopy altogether.
Right, thanks for that, Robert. Nick.
Yep, there was a very strong belief and consensus in our group that we should be using the same technology Department of Natural Resources or any other forestry-based agency uses. So use drone footage and software to measure the actual canopy. The group also believed that there should be some type of upper limit, let's say, such as like 10% or 20% over. That if you're within that limit, just to have a consistency with enforcement, that if you're 5% over, it's not something to worry about necessarily, but set a limit so that if there is somebody significantly over that canopy limit, that we do go hard after on penalties.
Okay, thanks, Nick. And Jessica.
So to keep it brief, we had some different ideas here. One of the things that was brought up was that sometimes indoor growers use multiple levels when growing, and that needs to be counted towards canopy. So there was some discussion about using a volume measure or a 3D measure. And then similar to what Justin had mentioned around, keeping things consistent, I think with enforcement. So really, and rulemaking. So thinking about how we can limit uncertainty and ambiguity so that people can operate most efficiently. And I guess one more thing I will mention is just to maintain flexibility for growers was also brought up, letting them allocate what is needed to support their plans within the space. So not just the space, but what may also be needed to support the plans.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thank you very much. So I do apologize that we're going over today. But we want to thank you for sticking with us for this extra 7 minutes and experiencing this first World Cafe that we've hosted in developing themes around things we're thinking about for rulemaking. I think Jeff and I have something tentatively scheduled for next month, a follow-up World Cafe to this particular session. More to come on that once we distill all the information that we've received from you today. We will make that available on our website along with a YouTube video of this and the rooms that we're recording their sessions individually. I don't know that every room recorded, but if you did, we'll make sure that those are available for you as well. So with that, just checking with our room host, anything to offer before we close for today?
No, I think that's good. So thanks everybody for attending.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think next time we'll schedule a little more time. We didn't, I'll be honest, we didn't anticipate as big a turnout as we received today. So thank you for your grace and helping us navigate this new way of engaging with you. And we're looking forward to doing it more in the future. So with that, we'll go ahead and close it today. Thanks again for your time and looking forward to working with you more on this very, very important topic. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.